Okay, it looks like we're going. It looks like we're going. I see it popping up. Okay. Yay! Okay, I'm very excited. My first YouTube live stream. So, we're going to talk a little bit today about the weekend weather forecast heading into Father's Day weekend. Usually, I would do these videos and pre record them and edit them. For the sake of time, energy, today is my day off. Trying to do a live stream to still get the info out there, but then saves me like 40 minutes, an hour on the back end to edit, and then I get that time back on my day off so I can get ready for work tomorrow since I do work weekends. So let's get started. So what we're looking at here, this is Invest 90L off of the coast of the Carolinas right now. So we have this system that moved over Florida, still bringing some rain to southern Florida. We're talking big time rain down in Florida. We're 10, 12 plus inches over the last few days of rainfall. So this is moving away from land, but it's kind of moving close to the Carolina coastline over the last couple of days. So let's take a look at the National Hurricane Center, see what they've got going on. So we actually have two disturbances that we're watching. So we've got Invest 90L, so you see that says AL 90. So A is Atlantic Basin, AL Atlantic Basin, 90, just the first storm that we're watching. Doesn't have a name, but right now it has a 20% chance of becoming at least a tropical depression within the next 48 hours and 7 days. But when we look back off to the south and west in the western Gulf of Mexico, let's go down. We do have another area that we're going to watch eventually develop. So it hasn't even developed yet. It's just kind of a cluster of thunderstorms down there. So this weekend, expecting that to develop, and it has a 50% chance of becoming a tropical depression, at least a tropical depression, within the next 7 days. So that's probably the one that we're watching a little bit more closely that could potentially impact land, may move back off to the west and northwest, so into some areas that may be northern Mexico, southern Texas type area. So that's a quick check on the tropics as of midday on June 14th. So we're about halfway through the first month of hurricane season. So let's bring things back to the lower 48. Let me actually refresh this. See if they've done any updates on this page. So we're going to go through the fronts and kind of see what's happening as we go through the weekend. So here is early on Saturday morning. Some of you, West Coast, this may be more so late Friday night. So I'm going to take you through the weekend here with the fronts, and we'll kind of just discuss what's going on. So you see early on Saturday morning, we've got this warm front that's moving through the northern plains. So from the Dakotas down through Nebraska, Kansas area. So some rain, chance for some storms down that area. What happened? Okay, there we go. And as we go through Friday night and early Saturday morning, you'll also see up through the mid-Atlantic, DC, Baltimore area, Eastern Shore, through New England, we've got a cold front that's moving through. And I'm in one of those areas, so I can see the clouds that are starting to move in as this cold front approaches. So this is going to be later tonight. That will eventually move out, but we've got a storm chance Friday night for some of those areas as well. We've got high pressure that is going to build in for the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, even down through a good portion of the Carolinas, maybe southern North Carolina heading into South Carolina. Yes? What's wrong? I'm sorry. You want to say hi? Very good. I have a cat. Live stream, that's just how things are going to go, I guess, when I don't edit things out. So she's sitting right there. Everybody say hi. All right, so we've got high pressure that's going to build into some of those areas. But then you look back off to the west, Montana, up through those zones, we've got a system that's still kind of meandering there. So this is Saturday evening that we're looking at, actually. still raining in Florida. It's been raining in Florida for days, and it looks like it's going to continue still into Sunday. It looks like 90L may get overtaken by this front that's kind of into the southern U.S. You're seeing it right there, almost along the line between Georgia and South Carolina. So it looks like it'll get absorbed into that front, but you still see we still have rain and storm chances through pretty much all of Florida going into now Sunday morning, quieting down in some parts of the northern plains, but looking toward Minnesota, Wisconsin, there's still a storm chance on Sunday morning, and even some zones of northeastern Iowa. Much of the western half of the country, pretty quiet, maybe a little bit of some snow mixing in northern areas of Idaho, Montana, and through the Pacific Northwest as well. So I'm going to stop here on, this is Monday morning. We've got storm chances, rain chances through northern tier of the country, and then heading down kind of Midwest Ohio River Valley. Speaking of Ohio River Valley, some of those zones we are watching for some big time heat heading into next week. So the third week of June, we'll have to watch out for some areas of serious heat index. We're talking 90 plus before you factor in the humidity. So over the next couple of days, let's talk about rain chance, excessive rain chance, risk for flash flooding. Once again, our neighbors in Florida, we're watching for risk for flash flooding for Saturday, but a better chance, Minnesota, Wisconsin, northern Iowa has that level 2 out of 4 risk for some flash flooding. So that's at least 15% chance of exceeding what's called flash flood guidance, or kind of exceeding that threshold for flash flooding within 25 miles of any given point. And then you see around that a larger area with that level 1 risk, similar to what our neighbors in Florida will also have as well. Now for Sunday, that slight risk that was in Minnesota and Wisconsin moves down to the south and west just a bit. So we're looking more so at northwestern Iowa, southwestern areas of Minnesota, and then heading back into Nebraska and South Dakota with that level 1 risk surrounding it. There's also a small area, let me actually scroll down, a small area of a level 2 risk into some parts of southern and southeastern Louisiana, and then also Mississippi has that level 1 risk kind of surrounding it, and then some other areas of Louisiana as well. So let's see about rainfall for this weekend. Go to day two. There we go. Saturday into Sunday. So you see where we had that increased risk for flash flooding in Minnesota, Wisconsin. We're talking about maybe over an inch of rain in those places, maybe inch and a half. We'll look at storm chances, severe weather chances coming up right after this. But you do see we've got more so of that bullseye in those same areas, but also some higher totals into Florida, a few areas of that blue showing up there. And then North Dakota, heads up for all of you right along the shared border with Canada. We do have that possibility for over an inch of rain in some of those locations as well. And for Sunday, a few more areas of that purple showing up according to the Weather Prediction Center, indicating over an inch and a half of rain between early on Sunday morning and early on Monday morning. So heads up on that. Again, we're looking at South Dakota, southeastern South Dakota, northeastern Nebraska, and then northwestern Iowa and southwestern Minnesota. When we put it all together, this is also going to include rainfall for Friday. So we're looking at days 1, 2, 3, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Upper Midwest, and then also southern Florida as well. We've got some of those purples and even a few orange areas showing up as well. So that's where we're looking at the heaviest of the rain for this weekend. Again, this is including Friday. And then we have a smaller area of some heavy rain, North Dakota, some areas of the Pacific Northwest. And then also into southern New England, you see some of those brighter blues showing up, indicating those higher rainfall totals as well. So now let's talk a little bit about severe weather risk. Take a little sip of water though. Live stream, it's a little bit more relaxed versus me feeling like I gotta get everything super condensed and perfect so I can cut it and it can look really clean. So a little bit more relaxed. I might stick with this for the foreseeable future. So we've got a few areas of level 1 and 2 risk for Saturday, for tomorrow, as I'm recording this on your Friday. So we're looking at Montana, North Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, and some areas of Kansas too. So let's break that down just a little bit more. Just want to break down the threat by threat. So we do have a 2% chance of a tornado that's focused in western Iowa, eastern Nebraska. So it's a low number, but it's still worth watching because they highlighted it. If it's highlighted, we're keeping an eye on it, even though it may only be a 2% chance. So we're looking at Omaha, Sioux City, Council Bluffs, Bellevue, Nebraska, and Fremont, Nebraska as well. Now for the wind and hail chances, those are going to be a bit higher. So we're looking at 15% in those areas. Same, very similar areas in Nebraska and Iowa, but now we're also including some of those zones in Montana and North Dakota. And that lower risk, that 5% risk, elongated. So bigger cities. We're looking at St. Paul, Minneapolis, Des Moines, Lubbock, Texas. So we're talking about a pretty elongated area from western Wisconsin all the way down through northern Texas, and a small sliver of New Mexico is included in that higher wind threat as well, that 5% wind threat. Now, as far as damaging hail, pretty much same exact areas. And this is for Saturday. So let's go back, kind of gonna bounce around here. So looking at Sunday, Father's Day, severe weather risk. Are you going to load for me? Are you going to? There we go. We have a level 1 out of 5 risk. So we've got an isolated chance in these deep green areas for some of those stronger storms to develop. So we're looking at Great Lakes, Wisconsin, Minnesota, most of South Dakota, northern Nebraska, and then heading back off to the west just a bit as well. So let's bring you back to the SPC website. Take you over to day 3. Let's scroll down, make sure you can actually see what I'm looking at and I'm not covering anything. So if you're unfamiliar with the Storm Prediction Center website, day 1 is the current day. Day 2 is the day after that, so it would be Saturday, and then day 3 is 2 days after the current day. So this is Sunday, we're looking at Father's Day. Now these could change, these could adjust a little bit as more data comes into the Storm Prediction Center. They may change some of these areas, include more areas, possibly upgrade depending on what's going on. But on the day 3 outlook, we don't have the breakdown of tornado, wind, and hail threats that we have on days 1 and days 2. But once we get into Saturday, you'll be able to check the Storm Prediction Center website and see what's happening there as far as what they're thinking for the individualized threats for severe weather. So some of the zones that we're looking at for Father's Day, chances for thunderstorms, stronger to severe thunderstorms, is going to be Minneapolis, St. Paul, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Rochester, Minnesota, and Duluth, Minnesota. That lighter green, that's indicating where we have a chance for generalized thunderstorms. Some of them could be a little on the stronger side, but the best chance for severe weather, that will come in the deep green areas and maybe some surrounding zones as well. So just a heads up on that. We do have a chance for some storms, maybe some stronger storms in the northern plains for Father's Day, and a chance for storms down into the southern U.S. as well, which I think this time of year, they're kind of used to chances for storms down there. And you see 5% severe chance in those areas. So a low end chance, but the possibility is still there. So just make sure you've got a way to get alerts, especially if you're sending dads out to golf or anything like that. Recreation activities can be a bit on the dangerous side when we do have storms in the forecast. So let me walk you through. I don't want to move things. I don't want anything to go out of where it is. So let's kind of walk through the weekend as far as rainfall goes. So this is starting on Saturday morning. So we walked through the fronts a little bit earlier, but you can see, pretty quiet through the northeastern U.S., through most of the country as well. So we're looking at those green areas. The red that's showing you thickness or heights, the difference between two levels of the atmosphere. The black lines, those are showing you sea level pressure. You can see highs and lows on this map as well. But just to kind of show you, here we are late on Saturday night, caught a couple of maybe storms through that upper Midwest area where we have that highlighted risk for severe weather, and then maybe into Oklahoma and Texas as well. Florida, maybe getting a little break from the rain they've been dealing with all week long. And you do see also into North Dakota a couple of areas of some reds. It's covered up by that low pressure icon, but you do see some of those warmer colors there. So going into Sunday morning now, quiet start across most of the East Coast, it looks like, for Father's Day. So let Dad sleep in if you can. But we've got a couple of storms into the Upper Peninsula of Michigan early on Sunday morning that we may need to keep an eye out for. Let's see if we can, there we go, kind of skipped ahead. But overall, that threat for severe weather is pretty low. I'm just going back here and just walking you through Sunday once again. Looks like a decent forecast according to this model for Father's Day for most of the U.S. Maybe a couple of spotty showers and storms here and there. Our neighbors up in Canada, they're getting that low pressure area, so some storms there for them on Sunday. I'm not sure. Is it Father's Day in Canada on Sunday? I know it might be a little bit different, but here's late Sunday going into Monday morning, some isolated spotty showers from like Illinois down through Arkansas into Louisiana. So just a heads up on that. And then here is early on Monday morning. You see where we had some of those areas highlighted for Father's Day severe weather from Wisconsin, Minnesota, and then over into the Dakotas, maybe a few early morning showers and storms for them on Monday. But this is a weekend forecast. So overall, Sunday for most of the country does not look too bad. So good news there. Okay, folks. So of course, of course, all the good things that I had lined up, and I don't remember what time it was that I was looking at. 18Z? I'll take 18Z on Saturday. Let's talk about how humid it's going to be this weekend. All right. Hopefully, that probably means my next one is going to be not working as well. So, no, what happened? There we go. All right, so we're not gonna scroll. Anywhere you're seeing the teal colors, that's where you're gonna feel the humidity. Anywhere you're seeing purple, it's going to be very uncomfortable for you. So let's start. This is midday, early afternoon on Saturday, and then just through the middle of the country, we're talking humidity down into Florida. Maybe not so bad for some of our neighbors in like Alabama and Georgia. We've got borderline humidity. Anywhere you're seeing numbers above about 60 degrees, that's where we do have that humidity that's definitely going to be noticeable. But western half of the country, extremely dry air, extremely comfortable. So if you've got plans to head out west, it's a good weekend if you don't like humidity. So just taking you through the rest of the weekend. Don't know what happened there. Okay, there. I guess it only takes me to Sunday morning. That's fine because I'm using a shorter term model here. So here's early on Sunday morning. We've got dew points into the 70s from Texas, almost all of Louisiana, coastal locations, southern locations of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida. Yeah, you guys are just in for the sticky, muggy tropical air through the weekend, and even into some areas of South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, probably going to be decently humid this weekend as well. Let's see if my graphics want to work. Let's see if you have closed out my graphics. I had everything loaded up, but it seems as though it doesn't want to work for me today, even though everything was loaded up. For some reason, it's not working. All right, so the next two that we're looking at, maximum heat index, feels like temperature for this weekend. So here is Saturday. We're looking at heat indices 95 plus. Kansas, most of Texas is going to be very hot this weekend. Some areas of Southern California, Arizona, also with those heat indices above 100 degrees, but maybe more so of a dry heat. So maybe actual air temperatures getting closer to that. We're also talking about Arkansas, Mississippi, over toward Alabama, some areas of northern Florida where we may not have some of that rain for Saturday. We do have those higher heat index values maxing out over 100 degrees on Saturday. But cool when you look back off to the northwest part of the country. That might be where you want to go, where we have some of those areas maybe only feeling like 70 degrees or so. So here's a look at Sunday. Once it loads, everybody will get this going. So it's going to be still pretty hot for some parts of the country. Some of these areas are going to overlap with what we have for the hottest areas in the country for Saturday for Sunday. I hope that makes sense. Oh my goodness gracious. There we go. As soon as I was about to give up on it, it said, don't give up on me yet. So southern Texas, again, some areas of Arizona, Southern California, southeastern California, more so than the southwestern part, going back over toward the water. But you do see, maybe even up towards southern Illinois, we could have some of those heat index values getting closer to 100 degrees, if not over 100 degrees. Also, my friends in Iowa, I used to work in Iowa. It is going to be a hot Father's Day for you, so a heads up on that. Warm through the Carolinas, going toward D.C., some areas of West Virginia, heat index values over 90 degrees there. So let's talk a little bit about next week. Just looking ahead, we do have a risk for excessive heat starting late next week, maybe middle to late of next week, going into next weekend. We have that risk for excessive heat for some areas of the Midwest, going over toward the Ohio River Valley, and then from southern New England down through the mid-Atlantic. We're also going to be watching out for a risk for some excessive heat, similar to what we are going to see this weekend into the southern parts of the state and through some of the plain states as well. So just a heads up on that. We are watching the chance for heat index values 95, 100 plus for the third week of June. And New England, typically a little on the cooler side, but it's summer. So we're looking at some big time heat for New England. We've been watching that for those areas over the past few days, keeping an eye on that. But that is it for today. 23 minutes is a little longer than I would have liked. I'm going to try and get that a little bit tighter, but 23-minute live stream, and we are good to go for the weekend forecast. I hope this was helpful to you. Please let me know in the comments if this was helpful to you. Consider subscribing, liking the video, and sharing it with a friend that maybe lives somewhere other than where you live so that they are updated on what is going on. My name is Rochelle. I am a meteorologist. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good weekend and happy Father's Day to all the dads out there.